Shalom, my name is Adam, and I welcome you to the parable of the vineyard. Every day, Yahuah is waking up a remnant, a group of people who are coming out of deceptions, realizing our walk is to consist of faith and obedience to His righteous commands. Each week, we read through and examine a portion of the Torah, allowing the Spirit of the Most High to guide, teach, and open our eyes and ears to the wondrous matters out of His law. Join us as we seek to be refined by His Word, preparing ourselves for the return of our King of Kings, being faithful and obedient, walking in His way, truth, and life. Shabbat Shalom and welcome back, brothers and sisters. Welcome to the Parable of the Vineyard YouTube Torah portion live study. My name is Adam, your host, and I welcome you. This is week 4 already, and we're almost to the, after this portion, we're almost to the middle of the book of Genesis already. Man, it just, these first couple portions just flies by. But we'll be reading from Genesis chapters 18 through 22. And just a lot to go over. I mean, we've got Messiah Yahusha and the two angels that visit Abraham and his wife, given the promise of the son. We have the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. We have Abimelech. We have, man, there's just so much to talk about. So enough chit chat from me, but I just welcome you and praise Yah that He's opened your eyes, that you have decided to seek out His Torah. And so let's petition Him that He opens our eyes to the words that we'll be studying tonight. Heavenly Father, Yahuah Most High, we just come before You and we thank You for Shabbat. Quite frankly, I think this is something that we've all have learned is just an amazing blessing. And we just thank You so much for the weekly rest and appointment with You. And we thank You for Your word, which for a lot of us are learning is better than earthly food. And we pray that You open our eyes and ears to the words that we're going to read tonight, for we know that it is not of ourselves, but You who are the revealer of wisdom and truth in these last days. And we just thank You so much for it. We bless You in Yahusha's name. Amen and amen. Okay, let's get right into it. So, if just in case you're new, now tonight actually I don't have all of the word audio files. I have it for 18, 19, but I'll be reading 20, 21, and 22. We got a lot of reading to do. Also, in case you're new, I didn't say what I wanted to say. We'll have the Word Audio Project, which is a dramatized version of the reading of the Sefer. It's a pre-recorded reading, so if you see my face and you don't see me reading, but you hear the words, it's because it's a pre-recorded audio. Anyways, most of you already kind of know what that project is, so I won't spend much time on that. So we'll have that for 18 and 19, but I'll read the other. We're going to be comparing stuff with the Book of Jasher, Jubilees, and the Aramaic Targums we have decided to add to our studies. So really excited about what that holds as well. And for any of you that are deciding to test the Targums for yourself, I do recommend the Jonathan Ben Uziel version. I'll explain that another time. But Onkelos is just something I just don't know if I want to read his stuff. He's the guy that has a passage in the Talmud that says that Yahusha is burning in hell. Anyways, so yeah, I'm just not going to read his stuff. Anyways, so let's get into it. And we're at Genesis 18. And let's go. And actually, we're going to be, that's right. I got the word audio. So we're going to have it read to us first, and then we'll break it down.
Bereshit, Genesis chapter 18. And Yahuah appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground, and said, My Adonai, if now I have found favor in your sight, pass not away, I pray you, from your servant. Let a little water, I pray you, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that ye shall pass on. For therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, So do, as you have said. And Avram hastened into the tent, into El Sarai, and said, Make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, knead it, and make cakes upon the hearth. And Avram ran unto the herd, and fetched a calf tender and good, and gave it unto a young man, and he hastened to dress it. And he took butter and milk, and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before them, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. And they said unto him, Where is Sarai your woman? And he said, Behold, in the tent. And he said, I will certainly return unto you according to the time of life, and lo, Sarai your woman shall have a son. And Sarai heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarai were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarai after the manner of women. Therefore Sarai laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also? And Yahuah said unto Abraham, Wherefore did Sarai laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for Yahuah? At the time appointed I will return unto you, according to the time of life, and Sarai shall have a son. Then Sarai denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid. And he said, Nay, but you did laugh. And the men rose up from thence, and looked toward Sodom, and Abraham went with them to bring them on the way. And Yahuah said, Shall I hide from Abraham the thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all of the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him? For I know him, that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall guard the way of Yahuah, to do justice and judgment, that Yahuah may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him. And Yahuah said, Because the cry of Sodom and Amorah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now, and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. And the men turned their faces from thence, and went toward Sodom, but Abraham stood yet before Yahuah. And Abraham drew near and said, Will you also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Perchance there be 50 righteous within the city. Will you also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein? That be far from you to do after this manner, to slay the righteous with the wicked, and that the righteous should be as the wicked? That be far from you. Shall not the judge of all of the earth do right? And Yahuah said, If I find in Sodom 50 righteous within the city, then I will spare all the place for their sakes. And Abraham answered and said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto Adonai, which am but dust and ashes. Perchance there shall lack 5 of the 50 righteous. Will you also destroy all the city for lack of 5? And he said, If I find there 45, I will not destroy it. And he spoke unto him yet again and said, Perchance there shall be 40 found there. And he said, I will not do it for 40's sake. And he said unto him, Oh, let not Adonai be angry, and I will speak. Perchance there shall 30 be found there. And he said, I will not do it if I find 30 there. And he said, Behold now, I have taken upon me to speak unto Adonai. Perchance there shall be 20 found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 20's sake. And he said, Oh, let not Adonai be angry, and I will speak yet but this once. Perchance 10 shall be found there. And he said, I will not destroy it for 10's sake. And Yahuah went his way, as soon as he had left communing with Abraham, and Abraham returned unto his place.
Okay, so chapter 18, What's really interesting about this chapter is a couple days ago, I sat down to get all my notes together for this Torah portion, and I didn't get but just a few verses in, and I realized that it was time to do the study that I've been thinking about for a long time, and some of you may have already watched it, but let's see. It was the other day, the identity, the angel of Yahuah, and this concept here is kind of what spurred it on, because you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, who actually appeared to Abraham and Sarah? And so, long story short, I believe that this is the angel of Yahuah, commonly known as the angel of the Lord, which I think through that short study, I think the scriptures spoke for themselves that Yahusha, our Messiah, is the angel of Yahuah, also known as the Word of Yahuah, and it was him that was all over the Old Testament. I mean, he was the one that called out from heaven, stopping Abraham from sacrificing Yitzhak. He was the one that spoke to Hagar. He was the one which Hagar ended up calling the angel of Yahuah, as calling him Elohim. He interacted with Gideon, with David. Every time, one of the prophets said, "And the word of Yahuah came unto me," saying, like, who was that, right? Who's the word of Yahuah coming unto him? It's Messiah. He's all over the place. And so, with that study, also believe that this is who it is here, that this is Messiah, Yahusha, because, Messiah says that no man has ever seen the Father. And I believe everything that came out of his mouth was true. So when he says no one's seen the Father, I'm here to say that I believe it's Messiah that has been the manifestation of everything, like the descending fire on Mount Sinai, the pillar of cloud by day and the fire by night, and the burning bush, and just all of it. It's been Messiah the whole time. Now, certainly angels have come down and done what they do, but there's a difference in how an angel speaks and how the angel of Yahuah speaks, which he speaks with authority and speaks that things will be done in first person, like, I will do this, I will do that. Anyways, it's a worthwhile study, and I know some of you out there have some brothers and sisters that have gone astray by denying Messiah through verses like, I am Yahuah and there is none beside me. But unfortunately, that's a huge misnomer and completely taken out of context. And, what's interesting is these Targums have really bust that wide open, because the word... the word of Yahuah was used like over 200 times in the Targums and only a handful of times in the Masoretic. So they almost completely wiped it out. And I think they did it for a reason, because, the rabbis knew that Messiah was called the Word. I mean, John 1:1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim, and nothing that was made was not made without him or through him. So I think they completely destroyed and took out the term, the Word, all over the place. So we'll be seeing that a lot more as we continue to go through the scriptures and test the Targums. So Genesis 18:1-2, it says that Yahuah appeared to him unto the plains of Mamre, and he appeared as a man, or as an angel. And you can see here that Abraham, and this is something I've been talking about for a while, is, Torah, while I love it because it's black and white, it says, do this, don't do that, do this, don't do that. Great. That's what I need. What we all need. But it's also like, it's kind of some of like the hidden gems like this. I mean, look how Abraham acts. Like, as soon as he came, first of all, he knew it was this is the Word. This is the angel of Yahuah. This is Elohim, essentially, because he's already met him before. He met him in Genesis 15 when he appeared unto Abraham. Maybe even before then. I think he called out to him. Regardless, Genesis 15, 17 totally appeared to Abraham. Abraham knew his appearance already, so he saw him, and that's why he knew this is Elohim, so he bowed down to the ground. And so, I mean, can you imagine if you knew that Messiah, that he was coming to your door, like, how would you act? And I hope we would all be the same kind of hospitality. But what we'll find out here shortly is Abraham was the same way with all people as well. And there's a passage, I think, is it in James or is it in one of the epistles of John, that says that it says, how can you, if you hate your brother that you have seen, how can you love Yahuah whom you have not seen, right? And so the thought process behind that is, just like how Abraham treated Yah as his own guest in his house, with he bowed down to the ground. He's like, you guys stay right here under this tree. I'm going to go get this. I'm going to go get that. I'm going to feed you. I'm going to take care of you. And they're like, all right, we're good. We'll be here. Do as you say. So, we should really show some hospitality with our friends, our family, our loved ones, especially if they come to your house. Try to remember how Abraham acted in basically serving them hand and foot. Think about Messiah Yahusha, think about the Last Supper. I mean, what did he do? He humbled himself greatly, and he washed their feet. What is it? What's that? What does he say? What did he say to his disciples? He said, he who is greatest among you shall serve, essentially be a servant, kind of act like he acted. And, we should really take hold of that. And if we claim to be the seed of Abraham, we should do the deeds of Abraham, as Messiah said. Because, you rebuke the Pharisees. He's like, if you were Abraham's children, you do the deeds of Abraham. He's like, now you seek to kill me. Abraham didn't do that, So anyway, so Yahuah appeared to him. So I believe that, again, that Messiah Yahusha was Yahuah, but, okay. So there is Yahuah the Father, but Yahusha was Yahuah, but not yet revealed as Yeshua yet. But there's still a Father and a Son. If that makes sense. Yahusha is the word of Yahuah, so he's like the emissary of the angel of Yahuah, if you will. Boy, I just made that really confusing for you. Sorry. It also reminds me of this, and we actually read this in that study. This is Joshua 5:13 through 15. And it came to pass when Joshua was by Jericho, that he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, there stood a man over against him with his sword drawn in his hand. And Joshua went unto him and said unto him, Are you for us or for our adversaries? And he said, Nay, but as the captain of the host of Yahuah am I now come. And Yahusha fell on his face to the earth and did worship, and said unto him, What saith my Adonai unto his servant? And the captain of Yahuah's host said unto Joshua, Loose thy shoe from off thy foot, for the place whereon you standest is holy. And Joshua did so. So here we have Joshua bowing to this captain of the host, not being rebuked for it. And we see Abraham bowing himself to the earth and not being rebuked for it as well. So pretty interesting. So here we see the deeds of Abraham. He's like, let me get some water. I'll wash your feet, and I'll fetch a morsel of bread and comfort your hearts. And he he's like, Sarah, turn on the hearth, or let's get this hearth going. Let's get these cakes going. Let's get this tender calf and let's dress it and let's get it ready. Actually, here, let's see. What did I have set up for this? Oh, this is the passage I was saying earlier. Okay, John 8:37 through 40. I know that this is talking to the Pharisees. I know that you're Abraham's seed, but you seek to kill me, because my word hath no place in you. I speak that which I have seen it with my father, and ye do that which ye have seen with your father. And they answered and said to him, Abraham is our father. Yahusha saith unto them, If you were Abraham's children, you would do the works of Abraham. But now you seek to kill me, a man that hath told you the truth, which I have heard of Elohim. This did not Abraham, right? It's almost like those, I could just see almost as comedy, like you're trying to kill me. Abraham didn't try to kill me, like, what's up? Matthew, let's see. So yeah, this is the sheep and the goats, right? And It says, "Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. And then shall the righteous answer him, and saying, Lord, when did we saw you and hungered, and fed you, or thirsty, and gave you drink? Or when saw thee as a stranger, and took you in, or naked, and clothed you? Or when saw we sick or in prison and came unto you? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me." So again, it's exactly as we saw how Abraham literally treated Yahusha. This is what he says here: if you do it unto the least of my people, or my brethren, as he says, which is an interesting word used there. He's like, you might as well done it to me. So praise Yah for that. And then, of course, the flip side of that is not doing all these things, and these people will be cursed and shall go into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. So praise Yah. I'm going to read Joshua 22:11 through 13. "And Abraham planted a large grove in Beersheba and made it to 4 gates facing the 4 sides of the earth. And he planted a vineyard in it, so that if a traveler came to Abraham, he entered any gate which was in his road, and remained there, and ate and drank, and satisfied himself, and then departed. For the house of Abraham was always open to the sons of men that passed and repassed, who came daily to eat and drink in the house of Abraham. And any man who had hunger and came to Abraham's house, Abraham would give him bread, that he might eat and drink and be satisfied. And anyone that came naked to his house, he would clothe with garments as he might choose, and gave him silver and gold, and make known to him Yahuah, who had created him in the earth. This did Abraham all his life." So it's Torah to be hospitable and courteous and serving to our brethren. This is probably a basic concept. You're like, yeah, I know that, Adam, but are we really walking that out? I'm asking myself as well. Are there ways that I can improve my hospitality and my friendliness and my kindness to my brethren? And we need to extend courtesy to even the non-believers and wicked. So, because it's like, how can we be a light if we're like snubbing, people that don't walk the same way we walk? Am I saying you need to be their best friends? No. But am I saying that we should be courteous to them and kind and long-suffering and merciful? Well, yeah, how else are they going to be attracted to the truth, right? Messiah, again, I said this earlier on the Revelation stream, but Messiah is like, you are the light of the world. A city on a hill cannot be hid. So let therefore your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So people, there's a difference, we're like when we do alms, we give to charity and stuff, that we should do that in private, he says. But the other stuff, the works of the Torah, people should see this and should be like, wow, this is different. What's something a little different about you? What denomination are you? What church are you part of? And there you go. The door's wide open for you. All right. So let's look at verse 14. "Is anything too hard for Yahuah? At the time appointed, I will return unto you." And this is actually the Hebrew word moed is here, which is the same word used for festival. I do believe that, I think it's in Jubilees, it says that he came to him on, that Isaac was actually born on first fruits, which is interesting. But yeah, so is anything too hard for Yahuah at the time appointed, in moed, and then we know this is the same word used for the feast days, so pretty interesting stuff. And so we see here Sarah denying, saying, "I laugh not." I don't think they knew quite the extent of Yahuah's power at that point, because she denied laughing when essentially, she lied. I'm not condemning Sarah because she's way more righteous than I've ever been. I'm just, we're going through the Torah portion, and we'll see here that these people are not perfect, but these are still righteous people, And so I'm sure she, at this point forward, she learned that Yahuah knows everything. And she's probably thinking to herself, how did he know that I laughed? He's too far away to even hear that. But nevertheless, he heard. So, and, when I say they're not, perfect, it's like, in thinking of, this promise. Well, we'll talk a little bit later about that down the road. We'll talk about it now. I don't want to ruin that. Look at verse 20, and Yahuah said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous. That actually has some interesting meaning. We're going to look at Jasher 19. That is not what I wanted to do. Jasher 19, 3 through 46. Here is some of the deeds of Sodom and why they were annihilated. It's one thing for the scriptures to be like, yeah, Sodom is just really wicked, and then destroyed. It doesn't really explain. I mean, no, we'll see next chapter, how nasty they were to the two angels that came in, and how they wanted to wanted to break down Lot's wall so they could have sex with them. I mean, that's how crazed these people were, but there's a little more to it. Check this out. This is Jasher 19, starting at verse 3. And by desire of their four judges, the people of Sodom and Gomorrah had beds erected in the streets of the cities. And if a man came to these places, they laid hold of him and brought him to one of their beds, and by force made him to lie in them. And as he lay down, 3 men would stand at his head and 3 at his feet, and measure him by the length of the bed. And if the man was less than the bed, these 6 men would stretch him at each end, and when he cried out to them, they would not answer him. And if he was longer than the bed, they would draw together 2 sides of the bed at each end, until the man had reached the gates of death. And if he continued to cry out to them, they would answer him, saying, Thus shall it be done to the man that cometh into our land. And when men heard all these things, the people of the cities of Sodom they refrained from coming there. And when a poor man came to their land, they would give him silver and gold, and cause a proclamation in the whole city not to give him a morsel of bread to eat. And if a stranger should remain there some days and die from hunger, not having been able to obtain a morsel of bread, then at his death all the people of the city would come and take their silver and gold with which they had given to him. And those that could recognize the silver or gold which they had given him took it back. And at his death they also stripped him of his garments, and they would fight about them. And he that prevailed over his neighbor took them. They would after that carry him and bury him under some of the shrubs in the deserts. So they did all the days to anyone that came to them and died in their land. And in the course of time, Sarah sent Eliézert to Sodom to see Lot and inquire after his welfare. And Eliézert went to Sodom, and he met a man of Sodom fighting with a stranger. And the man of Sodom stripped the poor man of all his clothes and went away. And this poor man cried to Eliézert and supplicated his favor on account of what the man of Sodom had done to him. And he said to him, Why dost thou act thus to the poor man who came to thy land? And the man of Sodom answered Eliézert, saying, Is this man thy brother? Or have the people of Sodom made thee a judge this day, that thou speakest about this man? And Eliézert strove with the man of Sodom on account of the poor man. And when Eliézert approached to recover the poor man's clothes from the man of Sodom, he hastened with a stone and smote Eliézert in the forehead. And the blood flowed copiously from Eliézer's forehead. And when the man saw the blood, he caught hold of Eliézert, saying, Give me my hire for having rid thee of this bad blood that was in thy forehead, for such is the custom and the law of our land. So basically the guy's like, you need to pay me for this bad blood coming out of your head, right? And Eliézert said to him, You have wounded me, and you're requiring me to pay you thy hire? And Eliézert would not hearken to the words of the man of Sodom. Right? Eliézer's like, you want to pay me for hitting me on the head with the stone and making me bleed? And the man laid hold of Eliézert and brought him to Shakra, this judge of Sodom, for judgment. And the man spoke to the judge, saying, I beseech thee, my lord, thus has this man done, for I smote him with a stone, that the blood flowed from his forehead, and he is unwilling to give me my hire. And the judge said to Eliézert, This man speaketh the truth to you. Give him his hire, for this is the custom in our land. And Eliézert heard the words of the judge. I love this. And Eliézert heard the words of the judge, and he lifted up a stone and smote the judge, and the stone struck on his forehead, and the blood flowed copiously from the forehead of the judge. And Eliézert said, If this then is the custom in your land, give thou unto this man what I should have given him for this day, for this has been thy decision, thou didst decree it. So Eliézert is like, oh, okay, if this is the law of the land, so he smites the judge on the head, and the judge bleeds, and so basically he's like, the money that you're going to give me, just give it to him. We'll be good. And Eliézert left the man of Sodom with the judge, and he went his way. And when the kings of Elam had made war with the kings of Sodom, the kings of Elam captured all the property of Sodom, and they took Lot captive with his property. And when it was told Abraham, he went to make war with the kings of Elam, and he recovered from their hands all the property of Lot, as well as the property of Sodom. At that time, the wife of Lot bare him a daughter, and he called her name Paltith, saying, because Elohim hath delivered him and his whole household from the kings of Elam. And Paltith, daughter of Lot, grew up, and one of the men of Sodom took her for a wife. And a poor man came into the city to seek a maintenance, and he remained in the city some days. And all the people of Sodom caused a proclamation of their custom not to give this man a morsel of bread to eat until he dropped dead upon the earth, and they did so. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, saw this man lying in the streets, starved with hunger, and no one would give him anything to keep him alive, and he was just upon the point of death. And her soul was filled with pity on account of the man. And she fed him secretly with bread for many days, and the soul of this man was revived. For when she went forth to fetch water, she would put the bread in the water pitcher, and when she came to the place where the poor man was, she took the bread from the pitcher and gave him to eat. So she did many days. And all the people of Sodom and Gomorrah wondered how this man could bear starvation for so many days. And they said each to each other, this can only be that he eats and drinks, for no man can bear starvation for so many days or live as this man has without even his countenance changing. And 3 men concealed themselves in a place where the poor man was stationed, to know who it was that brought him bread to eat. And Paltith, the daughter of Lot, went forth that day to fetch water. And she put bread into her pitcher of water, and she went to draw water by the poor man's place. And she took out the bread from the pitcher and gave it to the poor man, and he ate it. And the 3 men saw what Paltith did to the poor man, and they said to her, it is you who have supported him, and therefore he has not starved, nor changed in appearance, nor died like the rest. And the 3 men went out of the place in which they were concealed, and they seized Paltith and the bread which was in the poor man's hand. And they took Paltith and brought her before the judges. And they said to them, thus did she do, and it is she who supplied the poor man with bread. Therefore did he not die all this time. Now therefore declare to us the punishment due to this woman for having transgressed our law. And the people of Sodom and Gomorrah assembled and kindled a fire in the streets of the city. And they took the woman and cast her into the fire, and she was burned to ashes. And in the city of Admah there was a woman who they did the like. For a traveler came into the city of Admah to abide there all night, with the intention of going home in the morning. And he sat opposite the door of the house of the young woman's father to remain there, as the sun had set when he had reached that place. And the young woman saw him sitting by the door of the house. And he asked her for a drink of water, and she said to him, who are you? And he said to her, I was this day going on the road, and reached here when the sun set, so I will abide here all night. And in the morning I will arise early and continue my journey. And the young woman went into the house and fetched the man bread and water to eat and drink. And this affair became known to the people of Admah, and they assembled and brought the young woman before the judges, that they should judge her for this act. And the judge said, the judgment of death must pass upon this woman, because she transgressed our law. And this, therefore, is the decision concerning her. And the people of those cities assembled and brought out the young woman, and anointed her with honey from head to foot, as the judge had decreed. And they placed before her a swarm of bees, which were then in their hives. And the bees flew upon her and stung her, that her whole body was swelled. And the young woman cried out on account of the bees, but no one took notice of her or pitied her. And her cries ascended to heaven. And Yahuah was provoked at this and all the works of the cities of Sodom, for they had abundance of food, and had tranquility amongst them, and still would not sustain the poor and the needy. And in those days their evil doings and sins became great before Yahuah. that's just a few. There's more actually about them, what they do, but that's just a few things. Boy, it's just nasty stuff. Let's take a look at 20. So this whole passage of 25 through 33. This is the part where Abraham is praying to the Most High. He's like, if you find 50 righteous in here, will you save? Will you spare them? He's like, yeah, 50. And and then Abraham. It seems as though like Abraham's like talking him down, right? And Most High's like, okay. Or if I find 45, I won't do it. Okay, 40. All right, 30. But what we have to realize is the Most High knows the end from the beginning. He knows that Lot is the only righteous person in that entire city, So, but it's still, nonetheless, it's a really good overall point that what is Abraham doing? He's praying for and fighting for the weak and for the righteous. One of my favorite chapters, 2 Ezra chapter 7. We're going to read 102 through 115. I answered and said, if I found favor in thy sight, show further to me thy servant, whether on the day of judgment the righteous will be able to intercede for the ungodly, or to entreat the Most High for them. Fathers for sons, or sons for parents, or brothers for brothers, relatives for the kinsmen, or friends for those who are most dear. He answered me and said, since you have found favor in my sight, I will show you this also. The day of judgment is decisive and displays to all the seal of truth. Just as now a father does not send his son, or a son his father, or a master his servant, or a friend his dearest friend to be ill, or sleep, or eat, or be healed in his stead, so no one shall ever pray for another on that day, neither shall any one lay a burden on another, for then everyone shall bear his own righteousness or unrighteousness. I answered and said, how then do we find that first Abraham prayed for the people of Sodom, and Moses our fathers who sinned in the desert, and Joshua after him, and Israel in the days of Achan, and Samuel in the days of Saul, and David for the plague, and Solomon for those in the sanctuary, and Elijah for those who received the rain, and for the one who was dead that he might live, and Hezekiah for the people in the days of Sennacherib, and many others prayed for many? If therefore the righteous have prayed for the ungodly now, when corruption has increased and unrighteousness has multiplied, why will it not be so then as well? Anyways, so the point was actually just to read this passage here that this is counted as a righteous deed to even pray for the wicked. I mean, what Abraham was he was praying for the righteous to be spared, but essentially he was also praying for those that were not righteous, that maybe that they might have a chance, or Messiah, where is it? It's actually in at the end of Messiah, he says, what does he say? End of Matthew 5, what does Messiah said? But I say unto you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do good to them that hate you, and pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you, that you may be the children of your Father which is in heaven. For he maketh the sun to rise on the evil and on the good, and sendeth rain on the just and on the unjust. For if you love them which love you, what reward have you? Because anybody can do that. Anybody can love people that are good to them and love them. Do not even the publicans the same? And if you salute your brethren only, what do you more than others? Do not even the publicans so? That's why I was saying, even to treat the, people that aren't in covenant with Yahuwah, treating them well and being good to them. That's how Abraham rolled. So he says, be therefore perfect, even as your Father which is in heaven is perfect. So when it pertains to treating others and saluting others and loving others, love your enemies and love those that do not well to you. But anyways, so that was an interesting passage right there with Abraham. So here, one little snippet in the Targums, it says, this is for chapter 18, and the angels who had the likeness of men arose from thence, and the one who had made known the tidings to Sarah ascended to the high heavens, and 2 of them looked towards Sodom, and Abraham went with them. So remember, you had the 3 angels, and I do believe that one of them was the angel of Yahuah, which I believe fully revealed is Messiah Yahusha, and you had the 2 other angels. So the 2 other angels went to Sodom and Gomorrah, and it says the other angel, which I believe is the angel of Yahuah, ascended to the high heavens. All right, so let's listen into chapter 19. Just a second.
Bereshit, Genesis chapter 19. And there came 2 angels to Sodom at evening, and Lot sat in the gate of Sodom. And Lot, seeing them, rose up to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, Behold now, my lords, turn in, I pray you, into your servant's house, and tarry all night, and wash your feet, and ye shall rise up early, and go on your ways. And they said, Nay, but we will abide in the street all night. And he pressed upon them greatly, and they turned in unto him, and entered into his house. And he made them a feast, and did bake matzah, and they did eat. But before they lay down, the men of the city, even the men of Sodom, compassed the house round, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. And they called unto Lot, and said unto him, Where are the men which came into you this night? Bring them out unto us, that we may know them. And Lot went out at the door unto them, and shut the door after him, and said, I pray you, brethren, do not so wickedly. Behold now, I have 2 daughters which have not known man. Let me, I pray you, bring them out unto you, and do ye to them as is good in your eyes. Only unto these men do nothing, for therefore came they under the shadow of my roof. And they said, Stand back. And they said again, This one fellow came into sojourn, and he will need to be a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. And they pressed sore upon the man, even Lot, and came near to break the door. But the men put forth their hand, and pulled Lot into the house with them, and shut the door. And they smote the men that were at the door of the house with blindness, both small and great, so that they wearied themselves to find the door. And the men said unto Lot, Have you here any besides? Son-in-law, and your sons, and your daughters, and whatsoever you have in the city, bring them out of this place. For we will destroy this place, because the cry of them is waxen great before the face of Yahuah, and Yahuah has sent us to destroy it. And Lot went out, and spoke unto his sons-in-law, which married his daughters, and said, Up, get you out of this place, for Yahuah will destroy this city. But he seemed as one that mocked unto his sons-in-law. And when the morning arose, then the angels hastened Lot, saying, Arise, take your woman, and your 2 daughters which are here, lest you be consumed in the iniquity of the city. And while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and upon the hand of his woman, and upon the hand of his 2 daughters, Yahuah being merciful unto him, and they brought him forth, and set him without the city. And it came to pass, when they had brought them forth abroad, that he said, Escape for your life, look not behind you, neither stay in all the circle of the Yarden. Escape to the mountain, lest you be consumed. And Lot said unto them, Oh, not so, my Adonai. Behold now, your servant has found grace in your sight, and you have magnified your mercy, which you have showed unto me in saving my life. And I cannot escape to the mountain, lest some evil take me, and I die. Behold now, this city is near to flee unto, and it is a little one. Oh, let me escape thither, and my soul shall live. And he said unto him, See, I have accepted you concerning this thing also, that I will not overthrow this city, for which you have spoken. Make haste, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till you are come thither. Therefore the name of the city was called Zoar. The sun was risen upon the earth when Lot entered into Zoar. Then Yahuah rained upon Sodom and upon Amorah brimstone and fire from Yahuah out of the heavens, and he overthrew those cities, and all the circle of the Yarden, and all the inhabitants of the cities, and that which grew upon the ground. But his woman looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. And Abraham got up early in the morning to the place where he stood before Yahuah. And he looked toward Sodom and Amorah, and toward all the land of the circle of the Yarden, and beheld, and lo, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. And it came to pass, when Elohim destroyed the cities of the circle of the Yarden, that Elohim remembered Abraham, and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow, when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And Lot went up out of Zoar, and dwelt in the mountain, and his 2 daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar, and he dwelt in a cave, he and his 2 daughters. And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night. And the firstborn went in, and lay with her father, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow, that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. And they made their father drink wine that night also. And the younger arose, and lay with him, and he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father. And the firstborn bore a son, and called his name Moab. The same is the father of the Moabim unto this day. And the younger, she also bore a son, and called his name Ben-Ammi. The same is the father of the children of Ammon unto this day.
Wow, that is a lot going on in that chapter. We've got, Lot and his daughters. We've got the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, which, can you just imagine? I guess that's probably just a small taste of what's to come in the day of Yahuah. In any case, so we see Lot being hospitable just like Abraham, and I have a feeling that Lot knew that these were angels as well because, I think he just knew that they were probably divine because he bowed himself to the ground, and he pressed them, sorely, or at least he knew that they were righteous men or something. And in verse 4 it says that, or was it verse? Let's see, where is it? Oh, verse 3, I'm sorry. It said he made him feast, and they did bake matzah. So you see the word feast and matzah, and so you're automatically like, that's Passover. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. We don't have a whole lot to go off of. It is interesting, though, that feast, matzah, escape, destruction. Just like, when the Israelites escaped out of Egypt. So there's definitely some parallels there. That I think is pretty interesting to take a look at. Then let's see. Here we go. So here's this angry mob of homosexuals that they're like crazed people. They're like 2 new men came into this town, and if they were angels of Yahuah, they were probably handsome men, I would assume. I don't know how Yahuah makes his angels, but I'm assuming that they probably appeared as attractive to these men, and they were like crazed dogs, like foaming at the mouth. They're like trying to break down Lot's door, like, we want to know him, so bring him out to us that we may have sex with them. Like wow, like really? Like this is just sickening, and this is really the only taste of the deeds of Sodom we get in the 66 book canon. And that's what's interesting about Jasher, is it kind of shares with us. I think I've shared it a couple weeks ago, but they used to have 4 orgies a year, and like you would like your daughters and your wife would go and have sex with your neighbors, and you would have sex with your neighbors' daughters and wife. It was just all over the place, just disgusting. And you can only imagine just what was going through their minds. Again, the only thing I could even think they would probably say was like, oh, this is a righteous thing to do because we're all we're all one. We're all sharing each other. We're all family, and this is how we can get close to each other, and this is how we can truly all be family, is if we interbreed with each other. I mean, who knows what they were thinking. But again, you've got this angry mob, and they're like, we want to have sex with these guys, or we're going to like destroy you, you know? And yeah, so the Septuagint says, where are the men that went into this night? Bring them out, that we may be with them. The Targums say, where are the men who entered with thee tonight? Bring them out to us, and we will lie with them. So yeah, these are all, so you got to know them, be with them, lie with them. They wanted to have sex with them. So then you've got Lot. It's like, don't do this, you know. I've got 2 daughters that are virgins. Do what you want with them, you know. And there's a lot of speculation as to exactly why he did that. I think it seems pretty simple. We don't really get a whole lot from the text. There wasn't anything else special in the Septuagint or the Targums that I saw. But, just thinking about it, I mean, Lot knows that these guys are like raging homosexuals, and they don't have any interest in his daughters, even though they're 2 virgins. They're probably, attractive young ladies. And they're like, it just made him even more mad. And maybe he knew that would be a good way to focus the attention on him and get them mad at him instead of focusing on the 2 angels that had come into his house. And it worked because what they say, they said again, this one fellow came into sojourn, and he will need to be a judge. Now we will deal worse with you than with them. So he kind of put the focus on himself because he knew that would piss him off. Is that a bad word? Maybe I shouldn't say that. It would upset them. I know children watch this. I'm sorry. It would upset them. Excuse me. Sorry. He knew that it would upset them because they didn't want females. They just wanted to lie with these men. So that's just my personal opinion on the matter. Verse 16 says, and while he lingered, the men laid hold upon his hand, and the hand upon his woman, and upon the hand of his daughters, and Yahuah being merciful to him, and they brought him forth and without the city. So it said Lot lingered, right? He's just like, like they're like, let's go, and he's like, da 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 da, and they're like, let's go. And so this reminds me of like Revelation 12, where it says that the man-child was caught up. It was like snatched away, taken with force. And, it says somewhere, what does it say? Yeah. Make haste, escape thither, for I cannot do anything till you are come thither, therefore the name of the city is called. So the angels were like, we can't bring the destruction until you leave, right? Yah hasn't allowed us to do this until you leave. We're going to protect you. And, thinking about it in the last days and when all this goes down, I really do believe for the righteous there will be a divine protection, whether it's like a protection in the places we are, or where he like literally snatches us and grabs us to him, and then all these things go down. Either way, I really fully believe that those that have faith in Messiah and keep the commandments of the Most High are going to be shielded and protected. That's the whole promise of Psalm 91. Verse 24, then Yahuah rained upon Sodom and Gomorrah brimstone of fire from Yahuah out of the heavens. So it's interesting that so there's still, if you go to Sodom and Gomorrah, there's like these balls of sulfur that are spread all over the land, and this is like old, this is like city walls that were encased by ash and preserved. Anyways, it's a fascinating study. Sodom and Gomorrah is exactly where it is today, and it's an entire city encased in ash with these balls of sulfur that can't be found anywhere else on the world. What does it say here? Anyways, it basically says here that these sulfur balls, the 98.4% pure sulfur, it's significantly more pure than naturally occurring sulfur, and so you can't find this anywhere else in the world. This pure sulfur like this, or almost exactly pure sulfur, 98.4%, and they're like these little balls, and this is this is the raining fire and brimstone from heaven, and there's physical evidence just sitting there. And it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that this kind of stuff still exists. So look, these are some of the pictures from Sodom and Gomorrah. Look, I mean, look at this. These are city walls. This is like walls and towns, like this. I mean, this is in Sodom and Gomorrah. This is a building that was completely encased in ash and preserved. Sodom and Gomorrah. I mean, this is a remnant of a city that was encased in ash. All over the place. Okay. So, and then you see, of course, Lot's wife turning back. They said, don't turn back. And she turned back anyways. And turned into a pillar of salt. There's a warning from us the Messiah gives us. Luke 17:26-37, and as it was in the days of Noe, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. Likewise also as it was in the days of Lot, they did eat, they drank, they bought, they sold, they planted, they builded. But the same day that Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and brimstone from heaven and destroyed them all. Even thus shall it be the day when the Son of Man is revealed. In that day, he which shall be on the housetop and his stuff in his house, let him not come down and take it away. And he that is in the field, let him likewise not return back. Remember Lot's wife. So when all these things go down, who knows, maybe he'll send an angel to each of our houses and be like, let's go. You got 1 minute, or we got no time. Let's go. Let's remember Lot's wife. I'm gonna be like this, like blinders. I'm not looking at anything. I just want to, look forward. In any case. All right. So, at verse 29, and it came to pass when Elohim destroyed the cities of the circle of the Yarden that Elohim remembered Abraham and sent Lot out of the midst of the overthrow when he overthrew the cities in which Lot dwelt. And I'm just going to read a little passage in the Targums. It says, and the word of Yahuah caused showers of favor to descend upon Sodom and Gomorrah to the intent that they might work repentance, but they did not, so that they said, wickedness is not manifested before Yahuah, so he doesn't see my sin. They said, behold, then there are now sent down upon them sulfur and fire from before the word of Yahuah from heaven. So here we are with that whole word business again, right? Yeah. And so Jasher 1957 reads, and Lot and his 2 daughters remained in the cave, and they made their father drink wine, and they lay with him, for they said that there was no man upon the earth that could raise up seed from them, for they thought the whole earth was destroyed. And, think about it from their perspective. If they were right in the midst of all this, it's probably what, what Hollywood portrays as, just absolute destruction, and just, they probably literally thought everybody was dead, and so they were really trying to do the right thing and be like, well, we need to keep our lineage going. I'm not going to sit here and condemn these people. I've got daughters, so I, can't imagine this scenario, but, not even slightly imagine this scenario, but, I guess I can understand if they thought that everybody in the entire world was dead. I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's kind of weird, but I'm not going to judge, because everything is according to Yah's will. So it happened, and I'm no judge. So we'll just keep moving on. How about that? So we are at verse 20, and here we go. I'm going to rereading now. And Abraham journeyed. Let me just get my notes up here. And Abraham journeyed from thence toward the country of the Negev, and dwelt between Kadesh and Shur, and sojourned in Gerar, which is the land of the Philistines. And Abraham said of Sarah, his woman, she is my sister, which we learned that she was actually his niece, because she was his niece. But I guess the way their speech works, father can mean father or, or grandfather. And Abimelech, king of Gerar, sent and took Sarah. But Elohim came to Abimelech in a dream by night, and said to him, Behold, you are but a dead man for the woman which you have taken, for she is a man's woman. But Abimelech had not come near her, and said, Adonai, will you slay also a righteous nation? Said he not unto me, She is my sister? And she, even she herself, said, He is my brother. And the integrity of my heart and in innocence of my hands have I done this. And Elohim said unto him in a dream, Yea, I know that you did this in the integrity of your heart, for I also withheld you from sinning against me. Therefore suffered I you not to touch her. So look at this dream real quick. So Jasher 20:18 through 21:11 through Jasher 20:12 through 18. 12 through 18. As at the evening time, before men lie down to rest, the king, this is Abimelech, the king was sitting upon his throne, and a deep sleep fell upon him, and he lay upon the throne and slept till morning. And he dreamed that an angel of Yahuah came to him with a drawn sword in his hand, just like he was in front of Joshua and Balaam. And the angel stood over Abimelech and wished to slay him with a sword. And the king was terrified in his dream, and said to the angel, And what have I sinned against you? And why comest thou to slay me with thy sword? And the angel answered and said to Abimelech, Behold, thou diest on account of the woman which thou didst yesternight bring to thy house, for she is a married woman, the wife of Abraham, who came to thy house. Now therefore return that man his wife, for she is his wife. And shouldest thou not return her, know that thou wilt surely die, thou and all belonging to you. And on that night there was a great outcry in the land of the Philistines, and the inhabitants of the land saw the figure of a man standing with a drawn sword in his hand, and he smote the inhabitants of the land with a sword, yea, he continued to smite them. And the angel of Yahuah smote the whole land of the Philistines on that night, and there was a great confusion on that night and on the following morning. And every womb was closed, and all their issue, and the hand of Yahuah was upon them on account of Sarah, wife of Abraham, whom Abimelech had taken. And in the morning Abimelech rose with terror and confusion, with a great dread, and he sent and had his servants called in, and he related the dream to them, and all the people were greatly afraid. So just give you a little more of what actually went down, and a little bit about this actual dream. So kind of interesting. All right, so Verse 7, Now therefore restore the man his woman, for he is a prophet, and he shall pray for you, and you shall live. And if you restore her not, know that you shall surely die, and all that are yours. So, the Most High could have just healed him like that, but he had it done through Abraham. And that's kind of what we see in James 5. It says, is any among you sick? Let him call for the elders of the called out assembly, and he shall anoint him with oil and pray for him. And, I'm paraphrasing, and he shall be healed. And so it's kind of the same thing we're seeing here, is that Yahuah works through men. All right, let's keep going. Therefore Abimelech rose early in the morning and called his servants and told them all these things in their ears, and the men were sore afraid. Then Abimelech called to Abraham and said to him, What have you done unto us? And what have I offended you, that you have brought on me and on my kingdom a great sin? You have done deeds unto me that ought not to be done. And Abimelech said unto Abraham, What saw you that you have done this thing? And Abraham said, Because I thought surely the fear of Elohim is not in this place, and they will slay me for my woman's sake. And yet indeed she is my sister, she is the daughter of my father, but not the daughter of my mother, and she became my woman. And it came to pass, when Elohim caused me to wander from my father's house, that I said unto her, This is your kindness which you shall show unto me, and at every place whither we shall come, say of me, He is my brother. And Abimelech took sheep and oxen and men servants, and women servants, and gave them unto Abraham, and restored him his Sarah his woman. And Abimelech said, Behold, my land is before you. Dwell where it pleases you. And unto Sarah he said, Behold, I have given your brother 1,000 pieces of silver. Behold, he is to you a covering of the eyes unto all that are with you, and with all other. Thus she was reproved. So Abraham prayed unto Elohim, and Elohim healed Abimelech and his woman and his maidservants, and they bore children. For Yahuah had fast closed up all the wombs of the house of Avimelech because of Sarah, Abraham's woman. Don't mess with Yahuah and his anointed, right? All right, so the birth of Yitzchak. And Yahuah visited Sarah as he had said, and Yahuah did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bore Abraham a son in his old age at the set time of which Elohim had spoken to him. And Abraham called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah born to him, Yitzchak. And Abraham circumcised his son Yitzchak, being 8 days old, as Elohim had commanded him. And Abraham was 100 years old when his son Yitzchak was born unto him. And Sarah said, Elohim has made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, who would have said to Abraham that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abraham made a great feast the same day Yitzchak was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Mitzrim, which she had borne to Abraham, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Yitzchak. And the thing was very grievous in Abraham's sight because of his son. So let's take a look at what actually happened, because it doesn't give us a whole lot. It said he was mocking, and then she's just like, get out of here, so it had to be pretty bad. Let's take a look. Jasher 21:11-15. And Ishmael the son of Abraham was grown up in those days. He was 14 years old when Sarah bare Yitzchak to Abraham. And Elohim was with Ishmael the son of Abraham, and he grew up, and he learned to use the bow and became an archer. And when Yitzchak was 5 years old, he was sitting with Ishmael at the door of the tent. And Ishmael came to Yitzchak and seated himself opposite him. And he took the bow and drew it and put an arrow in it and intended to slay Yitzchak. And Sarah saw the act which Ishmael desired to do to her son Yitzchak, and it grieved her exceedingly on account of her son. And she sent for Abraham and said to him, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for her son shall not be heir with my son, for thus did he seek to do unto him this day. So again, this is just, it seems a lot more plausible, as this was the situation that would send Sarah like over the edge and be like, all right, get out of here. You guys are done, So something to think about. Verse 12, and Elohim said unto Abraham, let it not be grievous in your sight because of the lad, because of your bondwoman, and all that Sarah has said unto you, hearken unto her voice, for in Yitzchak shall your seed be called. So it's interesting, in the Targum it says, hearken unto all that Sarah hath saith unto you, because she is a prophetess. Interesting. 13, also the son of the bondwoman will I make a nation, because he is your seed. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder and a child, and sent her away. And she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Be'er Sheva. So that's the well of seven. And the reason it was called the well of the seven was because of the 7 ewe lambs that was sacrificed between Abraham and Abimelech. So, yeah. Okay. So it said that it would make Ishmael a great nation. Ishmael is the father of the Arabs, and the Arabs are a massive nation. Let's see, it says, where is it? Never mind. We just know that Arabs are a massive population. Oh, here we go. That was the wrong thing. Population. Yeah, Arab world, 423 million people. It's almost half a million. Almost half a billion of people. So it has become a very large nation. Jasher 21:18-20 is what I have next on the notes. And the wife of Ishmael conceived and bare 4 sons and 2 daughters, and Ishmael and his mother and his wife and children afterward went and returned to the wilderness. And they made for themselves tents in the wilderness in which they dwelt, and they continued to travel and then to rest monthly and yearly. I'm not sure exactly where I put that there, but I guess just a little more info about Ishmael. Verse 14. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and took bread and a bottle of water and gave it unto Hagar, putting it on her shoulder, and the child, and sent her away, and she departed and wandered in the wilderness of Be'er Sheva. And the water was spent in the bottle, and she cast the child under one of the shrubs. And she went and sat her down over against him a good way off, as it were a bowshot. For she said, Let me not see the death of the child. For she sat over against him, and lifted up her voice, and wept. And Elohim heard the voice of the lad, and the angel of Elohim called to Hagar out of the heavens, and said to her, What ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for Elohim has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad, and hold him in your hand, for I will make him a great nation. And Elohim opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water, and she went and filled the bottle with water, and gave the lad drink. And Elohim was with the lad, and he grew, and he dwelt in the wilderness, and became an archer, and he dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took him a woman out of the land of Mitzrayim. And it came to pass at that time that Avimelech and Pichol, the chief captain of his host, spoke unto Avram, saying, Elohim is with you in all that you do. Now therefore swear unto me here by Elohim that you will not deal falsely with me, nor with my son, nor with my son's son, but according to the kindness that I have done unto you, you shall do unto me, and to the land wherein you have sojourned. And Abraham said, I will swear. And Abraham reproved Avimelech because of the well of water which Avimelech's servant had violently taken away. And Avimelech said, I know not who has done this thing, neither did you tell me, neither yet heard I of it but today. And Abraham took sheep and oxen, and gave them unto Avimelech, both of them to cut a covenant. And Abraham set 7 ewe lambs of the flock by themselves. And Avimelech said unto Abraham, What mean these 7 ewe lambs which you have set by themselves? And he said, For these 7 ewe lambs shall you take of my hand, that they may be a witness unto me that I have dug this well. Wherefore he called that place Be'er-sheva, because there they swore both of them were, again, the 7 ewe lambs. Thus they cut a covenant at Be'er-sheva. Then Avimelech rose up, and Pichol, the chief captain of his host, and they returned to the land of the Pelishtim. And Abraham planted a grove in Be'er-sheva, and called there on the name of Yahuah El-Olam. And Abraham sojourned in the Pelishtim's land many days. So interesting part, and I included this in the Angel of Yahuah study last night or yesterday, but it says a little bit more on Ishmael and Hagar from the Targums, and it says, And the voice of the youth was heard before Yahuah for the righteousness' sake of Abraham. And the angel of Yahuah called to Hagar from heaven and said, What to thee, Hagar? Faint not, for the voice of the youth is heard before Yahuah. Neither shall judgment be according to the evil which he will do, but according to the righteousness of Abraham is mercy upon him in the place where he is. Arise, support the child, and strengthen thine hand in him, for I have set him for a great people. And Yahuah opened her eyes, and showed her a well of water, and she went and filled the cruse with water, and she gave the youth to drink. And the word of Yahuah was the helper of the youth, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness, and became a skillful master of the bow. So it's just interesting. That's just part of the Targums. The gem of the Targums is the word. It specifically says the word all over the place. It's just amazing. All right, last chapter 22, and this is a big one. This is the sacrifice, the binding of Isaac. So Genesis 22:1, And it came to pass after these things that Elohim did try Abraham, and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here am I. And he said, Take now your son, your Yachid, Yitzchak, whom you love, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains of which I will tell you of. And so this is a really interesting passage, and I think it might bless you. Oops. What are we going to read? I'm sorry. No, it's Jasher 22, 1 through 3. All right, we already read that. And then 40 through 55, is that right? Here we go. And this is where the test came from. And Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, was growing up in those days, and Abraham his father taught him in the way of Yahuah to know Yahuah, and Yahuah was with him. And when Yitzchak was 37 years old, Ishmael his brother was going about with him in the tent. And Ishmael boasted of himself to Yitzchak, saying, I was 13 years old when Yahuwah spoke to my father to circumcise us, and I did according to the word of Yahuwah which he spoke to my father. And I gave my soul unto Yahuwah, and I did not transgress his word which he commanded my father. And Yitzchak answered Ishmael, saying, Why dost thou boast to me about this, about a little bit of thy flesh which thou didst take from thy body, concerning which Yahuwah commanded you? As Yahuwah liveth, the Elohim of my father Abraham, if Yahuwah should say to my father, Take now thy son Isaac, and bring him up as an offering before me, I would not refrain, but I would joyfully accede to it. And Yahuwah heard the word that Yitzchak spoke to Ishmael, and it seemed good in the sight of Yahuwah, and he thought to try Abraham in this matter. And the day arrived when the sons of Elohim came and placed themselves before Yahuwah, and Satan also came with the sons of Elohim before Yahuwah. This is just like Job. And Yahuwah said unto Satan, Whence comest thou? And Satan answered Yahuwah and said, From going to and fro in the earth, and from walking up and down in it. And Yahuwah said to Satan, What is thy word to me concerning all the children of the earth? And Satan answered Yahuwah and said, I have seen all the children of the earth who serve thee and remember thee when they require anything from you. And when thou givest the thing that they require from you, they sit at their ease and forsake you, and they remember you no more. Hast thou seen Abraham the son of Terah, who at first had no children, and he served thee and erected altars to thee wherever he came, and he brought up offerings upon them, and he proclaimed thy name continually to all the children of the earth? And now that his son Yitzchak is born to him, he has forsaken you. He has made a great feast for all the inhabitants of the land, and Yahuwah he has forgotten. For amidst all that he has done, he has brought thee no offering, neither burnt offering, nor peace offering, neither ox, lamb, nor goat, of all that he kindled on the day that his son was weaned. For amidst all that he has done, even from the time of his son's birth till now, being 37 years, he built no altar before you, nor brought any offering to you, for he saw that thou didst give what he has requested before you, and therefore he forsook you. And Yahuwah said to Satan, Hast thou considered my servant Abraham? For there is none like him upon the earth, a perfect and upright man before me, one that feareth Elohim and avoideth evil. As I live, were I to say unto him, Bring up Yitzchak thy son before me, he would not withhold him from me. Much more if I told him to bring up a burnt offering before me from his flock or herds. And Satan answered Yahuwah and said, Speak then now unto Abraham as thou hast said, and thou wilt see whether he will not this day transgress and cast aside thy words. So that's how this testing really came about. Let's keep going. Verse 3, And Abraham rose up early in the morning and saddled his ass and took 2 of his young men with him, and Yitzchak his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place of which Elohim had told him. Then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes, and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said unto his young men, Abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship, and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Yitzchak his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Yitzchak spoke unto Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, Elohim will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And they came to the place which Elohim had told him of, and Abraham built there an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Yitzchak his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the angel of Yahuwah called unto him out of the heavens, and said, Abraham, Abraham. And he said, Here am I. And he said, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything unto him, for now I know that you fear Elohim, seeing you have not withheld your son, your Yachid, your only begotten son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. Now Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place Yahuwah Yireh, as it is said to this day, in the mount of Moriah, in the mount of Yahuwah, it shall be seen. And the angel of Yahuwah called unto Abraham out of the heavens the 2nd time, and said, By myself I have sworn, says Yahuwah, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your Yahid, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned unto his young man, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba. And Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she has also borne children unto your brother Nahor, and Huz his firstborn, and Buz his brother, and Kemuel the father of Aram, and Kesed, and Chazo, and Pildash, and Yidlaf, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begat Rivkah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she bore also Teva, Gaham, and Thahash, and Maacah. So, a lot going on. So Mount Moriah is a really interesting place. So Mount Moriah is where Abraham offered up Isaac. Mount Moriah is the place that David bought from the Jebusite, the threshing floor. So it'll be a possession forever. The Temple of Solomon was built on top of Mount Moriah. And Yahusha was crucified right outside, on Mount Moriah, they say. So it's a really, really interesting place. So you're gonna there's a passage in Jasher I really want to read, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I am so beat. I am so tired. I'm gonna let you guys read this on your own. It's Jasher. It's basically chapter 23, all of it. It's like 80 verses. And so I would actually encourage you all to read Jasher chapter 23 for yourself and glean a little more info about what happened with the binding of Isaac. I might even read it next Torah portion, but I'm absolutely beat, brothers and sisters. I don't want to fall asleep on you guys. It's been a long week, and so I apologize. But nevertheless, it was a blessing to do this study with you, and I pray that it was a blessing for you, that you may have gleaned maybe even one thing that's new or something that's strengthened your faith. But most importantly, I pray this was a blessing in the Most High's eyes, that people are keeping His Shabbat and wanting to learn His Word earnestly. And so it's an honor to call you a brother and a sister for joining me, whether you're here live or whether you're watching this tomorrow at Shabbat, or whether you're watching this a couple of years from now. Don't know. But I appreciate you being with me and standing for the same things that I stand for, which is loving our Father, believing in His Son, and keeping His commandments. It doesn't get much more simple than that. So let's pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, and deliver us from all evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. And all the people said, Amen. So Yahuwah bless you and keep you. Yahuwah make His face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift up His countenance upon you and give you shalom. Shabbat shalom, brothers and sisters. Rest well. I'm going to go ahead and start resting right now. I'm literally going to go change and go to bed. I'm so tired. So I pray that your Shabbat is amazing. Those of you that are local, I'll see you tomorrow at the same place at noon, Finley River Park in Ozark at noon. And we'll continue this Shabbat and shalom. And love you all very much. And may Yahuwah bless and keep you. Let's listen to this one. Shalom.
I hear the farmers crying, kingdom come. I see the horrifying things we've done. I want to go way down by the end of the road, all the way to heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy will be done on earth, oh hear me pray, give us this day. Let our needs get met along the way, and most of all I pray you, let your kingdom come, yeah, kingdom come. Whoa. All our brightest dreams are shadowed by the darkness of the night. I keep watching the horizon for the slightest hint of light. Give us this day, give us this day. Let your kingdom come. Whoa. It's an ancient story that still gets told to those who hear and those who don't, by prophets and trees and things out of the blue. But once that cry has reached your ears, your heart gets filled by what you hear, and what you hear is just the sound